everybody, I'm QB for Culturalist Theory, and in this video we are ranking the 5-time Grammy nominee Tank's albums from worst to first. This list will not include his EPs, mixtape, or R&B money, Tank's elusive and allegedly final album. So we're going from 1 through 9 and ranking them along the way. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, super thanks, comment below, and subscribe so you don't miss the list. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to it. Number 9, One Man. This was Tank's sophomore album released on Blackground Records. It's at the bottom of our list, so we'll keep this one short. 3 tracks in, and we've already heard 2 interludes, at least one we could do without. Out of 18 total tracks, the title track serves as the album's one and only single. It received an average reception and didn't warrant further promotion with the second single, according to the folks at Blackground, and we'll leave it at that. Number 8, Force of Nature. Tank's debut album doesn't quite blow us away. After the moderate success of Maybe I Deserve, there were expectations for this one to do well, but the album's only single wasn't enough to float this record. Tank wrote most of the album with Steven, Buddha Anderson, and Rapture Stewart. And Buddha was a nice pickup, coming to Blackground in '99 after producing for West Side Connection and Dr. Dre's Aftermath Records. Buddha also contributed behind the boards on this project. Again, this was Tank's first album, so the songwriting isn't as polished as we would come to know from Tank and his camp. As a result, some of the tracks fall flat and don't age well. Luckily, there's more to come. Number 7, This Is How I Feel. There's an aggressive yet melodic tone to this album. It's as if Tank is out to prove something, and on his 5th album, maybe he was. He was unknowingly halfway through his catalog and was feeling underrated, which he sings about on the bonus track by that name. Singles This Is How I Feel and Next Breath are romantic highlights on this album, and there are a couple of notable features on this project. Chris Brown on Lonely, Chris Stevens and T.I. on Compliments, Busta Rhymes on Nowhere, and Kevin McCall on Crazy, which is on the deluxe edition. Number 6, Elevation. Elevation is Tank's most recent album, and from our research, it's his last. Though a 10th album was announced, singles and videos released, a full track list and album for R&B money remains in the ether. And instead of an album, he opted for a podcast by the same name. So back to Elevation. The record opens with a spoken word piece performed by the actor formerly known as Ghost, Omari Hardwick, who also has the sole writing credit for this track, which is rare for Tank. With more than 50% of the album having at least one featured artist, the album feels feature heavy. The guest list includes JoJo, Keith Sweat, Luke James, and others. But the singles are all Tank. I Don't Think You're Ready and Dirty are the sensual sounds that made him famous. Before we get to the top 5, we know Tank has decades in the game and has written for some of everybody, from Aaliyah to Omarion to Pitbull. Comment below and tell us what's your favorite song written by Tank but performed by another artist, and which track you think he should have kept for himself. Now to the top 5. Number 5, Stronger. This one is something different from Tank. It's probably the most experimental we've heard Tank to this point. It's fun, up-tempo, and more dancey than anything he's done before, like You're My Star, which kicks off the record. There are a couple of songs that will remind you of something else, but in a good way. The second track, Nobody Better, is giving sexy back Timberland vibes, and Missing You has big Marvin Gaye vibes, but it feels good. Tank remarked in an interview about wanting to add more of the original retro sound to the album, and he did. The album did not do well though, selling just 16,000 copies the first week and 6,000 the second week, causing the label, this time Atlantic, to stop promotion, including halting the second single, title track Stronger, and he took it hard and went on the IG rant blaming fans and threatening that this would be his last album. Let's move on. Number 4, Savage. Tank's 8th album opens up with a title track dedicated to his ability to turn women to savages. So I guess we can blame it on him, right? Immediately, Tank lets us know that this one is for the ladies, and he doesn't let up. One song after another, he lays the groundwork for anyone trying to have a cozy night in. Lead single When We gave Tank his first Billboard Hot 100 entry in more than a decade and #1 hit on the adult R&B songs chart. Also check out Everything featuring Trey Songz and Ludacris for a solid collaboration. Good Thing with Candace Boyd and Stay Where You Are with Jay Valentine are good too. Other highlights Sans features are You Belong to Me and Nothing On. Savage is a compact 11-track album that gets right to the point. But before we get to the top 3, in 2013, Tank, Genuine, and Tyrese got together to form TGT and released the album 3 Kings. Comment below which 3 artists you would pick to form a supergroup, and if you're feeling really creative, give them a name. Number 3, Sex, Love, and Pain. This was his 3rd and final album on Blackground, who by the way are finally re-releasing records, including Tank's first 3 albums to streaming sites. Sex, Love, and Pain is his first album to have a parental advisory sticker, and he earned it. 5 years removed from his sleepy sophomore effort, Tank was in his bag. He was credited as the sole writer on many of the tracks, and it's his strongest body to work at that time. We get the sex on My Body and When, love on I'm Coming Home and I Love You, with co-writing from Carrie Hilson and production from Saint Nick. Single Please Don't Go and deep cuts I Hate You and Heartbreaker are where we get a taste of the pain. I Love Them Girls featuring Timbaland is a nice change of pace that closes this well-rounded project. Sex, Love, and Pain earned Tank a Grammy nod and solidified him as a self-proclaimed general of R&B. Number 2, Now or Never. This record came out just in time for the holiday season and you're about to be indoors for a while. At least one of these songs is bound to get you in the mood. Emergency, Scream, or Foreplay featuring Chris Brown. Sex Music is also his most successful up-tempo track in 4 albums. It's sexy and fun at the same time. Tank also demonstrates complete mastery over his voice, which is set off with his falsetto on Amazing. This album also features a verse from future artist of the decade Drake on Celebration. Now, you may think Tank had a bit of a budget for Drake and Chris Brown on the same project, but we're talking 2010 Drake and 2010 Chris Brown. So this could be a case of yesterday's price not being today's price. This was his first project with Atlantic after leaving Blackground Records. He worked with Jim Johnson, The Stereotypes, Rico Love, and his own production team, Song Dynasty, among others, to pull this record together. The standard edition of Now or Never finishes with a strong 13 tracks with a ton of replay value, and was originally supposed to be Sex, Love, and Pain 2, which we're kind of glad he saved for later. Number 1, Sex, Love, and Pain 2. Even though Tank had sworn off making another record after a not so successful outing with Stronger in 2014, in 2016 he bounced back with the sensual sequel to Sex, Love, and Pain. It's his first album released off his own R&B money label, his 7th album overall, and 5th to debut at number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart. Tank continues to do the heavy lifting when it comes to the writing, as well as working with serial collaborators Jay Valentine and Brandon Hodges. He also continues to strike the right balance between romance, relationships, and ready for action. On the singles, he demonstrates bravado on Fucking With Me, and on You Don't Know featuring Wale, he displays some devotion. As usual, Tank's vocal performance is top tier. Check out the intro SLP2, I Love You featuring Yo Gotti, and Already in Love featuring Sean Stockman of Boyz II Men, which appear on the second half of the record for reference. That said, the top of this record is loaded with features. One we've already mentioned from Wale. That track also has a sample of If Only You Knew by Patti LaBelle. Rich Homie Quan appears on She With The Shit, and Chris Brown, Sia, and Sage the Gemini are featured on #B-Day. This is the most features we've seen from Tank back to back like that, but it all works together. This again is a well-balanced album, making Sex, Love, and Pain 2 an example of going back to what worked, doubling down, and the bet paid off. Unfortunately, Tank broke the news that he's experiencing hearing loss in his right ear and that his last album was his last album. Whether that's Elevation or R&B money services, we can't say for sure, but we know that he won't put his pen down and we'll hear his voice through other artists. That's our list for today. What do you think? Did we get it right? Who should we rank next? Let us know in the comments. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to Culturalist Theory so you don't miss a list. I'm QB. I'll see you next time.